education. And today's topic is sustainable literacy gains in India. And we have with us Ms. Poornima Garg, Deputy Country Director, Room to Eat. Welcome to the show, ma'am. And it's such a pleasure to have you with us here. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
our pleasure, ma'am. Attaining quality education is the key factor that can break the cycle of poverty. It plays a vital role in developing a human personality. It renders the mind to build thoughts and broaden its capacity to gain knowledge. It promotes sustainable development by contributing to the overall success and economic growth. Therefore, to support and accelerate the functioning of other SDGs, acquiring quality education becomes prime. So that's why sustainable literacy gains in India. So it's such a pleasure to have you, ma'am. Poornima serves as the Deputy Country Director at Room to Read India, an international non-profit working in the areas of early grade literacy and gender equality and girls' education. She supports the Office of the Country Director by providing leadership, strategic direction, management, and evaluation of Room to Read India's programs and country strategy. She also plays a key role in external representation, donor management, people operations, administration, and team leadership. Prior to becoming DCD, Poornima served as HR Director, overseeing Room to Read India Human Resource Development Department. With staff across 10 locations in that role, she was responsible for various aspects of human resources, primarily in the area of designing HR systems and processes, building effective and high performing teams, talent acquisition, learning and development programs, performance management in a multicultural environment. Under her leadership, Room to Read India embarked on several key initiatives, including articulating the policy and acts drawn for employee welfare and child protection, received Great Place to Work Award. Wow! Campaigns on raising awareness around anti sexual harassment and abuse policies for both women and children has been her area of expertise. Poornima has diverse experience in leadership for more than 18 years in both non-profit and for-profit sector, primarily into education domain. She holds a post-graduation degree in business management and is a certified life coach. She has been working on internal complaint committee under sexual harassment of women at workplace for multiple organizations and has also been awarded with the title The Phenomenal She in 2019 by Indian National Bar Association for contribution made in advocating to establish ICC in the organization under the POSH Act. Wow, ma'am, it's such a pleasure and it's such an honor to have you with us today. So, we start off with the first question. First thing first, what is literacy to you, ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?
Um, Thank you so much. Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you so much for having me here, and it's my pleasure. So, literacy in a most common way, if you ask someone, they would define it. It's the ability to read and write, and it sounds very simple, but it is much more complex than we think. It is actually the ability to use printed and written information to function in life, society, to achieve one's goals, and to develop one's knowledge and potential. It is about extracting and communicating meaning from text that is read. Literacy, therefore, is a life skills for the time and for the times to come. It's a unique human feat.
Wow, what beautifully put the definition to literacy. Why do you call it a unique human feat? Can you please elaborate?
Sure. So I would start with a quote from Miss Marian Wolf. It says that what we read, how we read, and why we read changes how we think. Changes that are continuing now at a faster pace. Reading anything couldn't have been possible unless writing would have been invented. And we all know writing harbors our oral experience in countless ways. Literacy is the ability to read and create text which harbors orality, knowledge, hierarchies, and larger societal realities in the form of anecdote, data, and so forth. So, isn't that uniquely human?
Yes, it is. Perfect. So, what is needed for comprehensive literacy experience in early grades?
Well, critical milestones of language learning happens in the first few years of primary schools, combining the science of learning to read and with the magic of loving to read. The three critical pillars of literacy, as we say in Room to Read, is oral language development, orthographic expertise, and exposure to variety of text. And definitely, organization like yours kind of work in a similar space, so you do really understand that. For a strong foundational literacy, we will need to understand that these skills are not incremental. That means they cannot be taught one after the other in a linear way. These are spirally intervened, and if early reader experience them simultaneously, it helps them to become motivated independent readers. It's important that these skills become a part of daily classroom practice, and I emphasize on this daily classroom practice because if the classroom practices are not getting changed, we will not have an impact. We will not be able to create independent readers. So yeah, according to me, this is the literacy pillars for me.
Very rightly put. Um, let's pinpoint now what is sustained illiteracy gains.
Mhm. Um, well, I mean, before I define sustained literacy gains, let's unpack this particular word. Let's just focus on sustained and then let's focus on the literacy gains. So, you know, it is the ability to read at an effective speed, and I would like to emphasize on effective to bring to the forefront that speed in itself is nothing and understand what's written in the text. So, it is a good definition as we envisage. It brings two very measurable impact to the forefront, which is fluency and comprehension. While comprehension is not only the end goal for reading, but rather a conceptual umbrella under which all reading tasks need to be experienced. And fluency is not just the speed of reading or decoding, but serves as a good Samaritan in the working memory by releasing the cognitive resources for meaning making once itself is established. So that is exactly the sustained of the sustained literacy gains.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Totally agree with you on that. Uh, how much time children need when learning scripts in Hindi?
Well, depends on the age group, the linguistic background of children, on the script being learned for literacy. But I would think that foremost is the age group. And for the scripts like Hindi, which is alpha syllabic scripts, children need at least 4 years to learn.
Oh, sure. Uh, what is your take on new policies and mission with respect to literacy gains?
Um, Recognizing the importance of early learning, the National Education Policy 2020 states that our highest priority must be to achieve universal foundation literacy and numeracy in primary schools and beyond 2025. We all know that it's been really defined. The rest of the policy will be largely irrelevant for such a large portion of our students. If the most basic learning, which is reading, writing, and mathematics at the foundational level, is not achieved. So, Nippon Bharat Mission and the NCF suggest pedagogies and literacy components that can be adopted, like balanced literacy approach, which takes into consideration both phonics and importance of exposure to variety of text in the classroom. It talks about the structured pedagogy, which at RTR we have been working well at foundational stages. We've been in existence for good 23 years here in India. It also strongly recommends to invest in teacher capacity building, which I believe is one of the most important component to support the mission. For any mission or program to sustain, it is imperative to empower the system to build ownerships so that learning gets integrated into the way of planning and implementation of future policies. And Anupama, you and I know that organization like ours would come and will can only do a limited amount of work till the time we do not empower the system, till the time the system is not strengthened. We will not have any sustained program. So that's how I look at the larger policy framework.
Okay. Um, how do you see room to read contributing towards literacy at scale?
Well, the literacy reform movement in India has been, benefited from collaborating among educational organization, researchers, government stakeholders. The National Education Policy 2020 was drafted and later finalized after extensive consultation with stakeholders sharing insight from the grassroots. And Room to Read continues to contribute towards facilitating discussions among education stakeholders to exchange project learnings, implementation in different contexts, with the goal of attaining foundational literacy at scale. And by incorporating these principles and good practices emanating from our intervention with the government institutions, Room to Read intends to add value to the ongoing discourse around sustaining literacy reform efforts. Investing in the early years of education in India is crucial for economic growth. We all know that. And strengthening the system to deliver on national education policy and Nippon commitment requires ongoing support and collaboration among stakeholders across the board. So, no one institution, no one organization can do all of this in isolation unless we all come together for this. So, successful system strengthening projects that we implement as an organization we've implemented have played a vital role in building the capacity of public education system, thereby paving the way for scaling up program components for widespread impact. In fact, I would request you if you could share the video Room to Read provided you to uh, to let people know about a program which we call Scaling Up Early Reading Intervention. This is a program that was implemented way before the NEP had come into existence. However, it kind of talks about the scale up, it talks about the intervention, that how the classroom practices needs to be changed.
Sure.
रोज पढ़ाई अच्छी से करना, ठीक है? मैडम की शिकायत भी मत लाना, ठीक है?
6-year-old Jyoti was not able to communicate well in Hindi. Poshad, a child from a family of farm workers, is a first-generation learner. After joining school at grade 1, they went through 2 years of calibrated weekly instructions to become fluent, independent readers.
नागरिकों की सेवाएं
A comprehensive literacy project in government schools transformed their lives.
Scaling Early Reading Intervention, SERI, a project supported by the United States Agency for International Development. It aims to improve the foundational literacy of children and ensure that all children by the end of grade 2 are able to read with fluency and comprehension.
Since its beginning in September 2015, more than 300,000 students have benefited from the project in 4 Indian states. The project adopted a uniquely scaffolded approach to scale in 3 phases. While the I Do phase demonstrates the model in select schools, We Do partners with the government to scale up the program. Finally, through You Do, the government is expected to use their own resources to implement the model across the state. The key to the success of this project is a close engagement with the government at all stages of planning and implementation. This started with the formation of a state resource group on early literacy in each of the 4 states. Government school teachers play a pivotal role in the SERI project. To apprise teachers of the new teaching design, a pool of master trainers were given intensive training by Room to Read.
इनसे हम शब्द बनाएंगे, ठीक है, केवल इन्हीं 4 वर्णों से।
5 + 1 आयाम होते हैं।
In turn, these master trainers gave training to other teachers in the new pedagogy. In all 4 states, SERI strengthened government education departments and synchronized the efforts of various stakeholders by raising their confidence through the efficiency of the new pedagogy. SERI has exceeded its scaling up targets. From just 180 demonstration schools in 2015 to 2,662 schools in 4 Indian states.
In the 4 states where it operates, SERI has built significant capability within the government education system for them to be able to implement an effective reading program, thus paving the way for sustainability and further scale.
SERI has inspired them to read with understanding, to acquire knowledge and imbibe wisdom.
नीना वरीना सहेली थी। एक दिन दोनों ने मिलकर नीम का पेड़ लगाया। दोनों रोज पेड़ के देखभाल करते थे। नीम का पेड़ बड़ा हो गया। अब दोनों रोज पेड़ के आसपास खेलती थी।
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very enlightening. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. So, now any final thoughts that you would like to share with our audience?
Well, FLN is a fundamental right for every child, and Room to Eat stands firm in this endeavor. We are committed to enhancing education outcomes in India, specifically in strengthening primary education as well as the gender equality aspect. And we believe that substantial change is only possible through collaborative efforts. And Room to Read has been facilitating among these to exchange learning implementation in different contexts with the goal of literacy at scale. Um, Literacy is imperative in developing sustainable and inclusive societies, and we are committed to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very. Thank you so much, ma'am. I mean, your views have been very, very appreciated. And let's see if we have some questions coming in from the audience now. So, any thoughts on new education policy, ma'am?
So I think
Do
we
you think
covered
it is be effective?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you look at the national education policy, some of the major changes, if we talk about, which is the universalization of the early childhood care education, which is the ECC, the National Mission on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy, which is the Nipun Bharat mission that we kind of talk about. Some of the key things that are there, which is new national curriculum framework for EC, schools, teachers, and adult education. The most important thing I would say for the organization like ours that are working so dedicatedly on the foundational literacy is how home language, mother tongue, and regional languages are given importance in terms of treating them as medium of instruction. So I would say that the holistic progress card, the student progress for achieving learning outcomes, use of technology, these has been some of the major changes, and it's quite important that we work towards it. So that's my take on the policy.
Thank you. There is another question which has come up is what is the role of books in improving literacy outcomes?
Well, books play a crucial role. I would say that in my previous responses also, I did talk about that how exposure to variety of text plays a vital role in making children independent reader. So if you look at books, it informs us about the world around us. It helps us understand and imagine the world we have not experienced, provides insight into dealing with socio emotional issues, coping up with emotions, understanding multiple perspective, hence making children more empathetic, and you know it builds narrative capabilities and deepen comprehension. And we talked about that how comprehension is so important, and it helps them acquire complex language and build vocabulary. So because if you're exposed to a different text or a variety of text, you're every time building your vocabulary by reading new words, understanding their meaning. It develops writing skills, and this is a very critical aspect. Till the time you do not read, you'll not be able to develop the writing skills. You write what you read, and it helps you with fluency. And that's why, I would say that libraries are learning centers and not just good to have, but a must have, purely because libraries is full of books, and books play a crucial role in making children independent readers.
Yes, thank you. How can home be transformed into an effective learning space for students of all ages?
Well, homes are a very critical, you know, places for children to be. And I think we have all seen this during the COVID time. Um, we need to have home as a learning space. We need to recognize home as a learning space if we want our children to learn in schools, because what starts at home kind of continues to the next level. There are so much of learning opportunities at home which are not recognized so much, which is, kids observe, they explore, there is creative engagement, there is opportunity to express. You would have seen that kids who are shy in the school may not necessarily be shy at home, because it's a safe space that they are there in. So there is an opportunity to express both verbally, orally, and in writing. And there is an awareness about self and surrounding. So
True.
development of self concept, developing the emergent literacy skills, basic phonics skills, engagement with digital and non-digital content. So overall, home, treating home as a learning space is very, very important and critical, because a child spends a lot more time there. There is a larger bond. Parents play a critical role there. So I would say home, if we treat home as a learning space, it plays a larger role in building the foundational literacy skills in children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, whatever they see in their surroundings and the home space and however the parents are contributing, it plays a very major role.
Yeah, and we
So,
have just
as
seen
an
that in COVID times, how important it was for children to be around, the books, or treating home as a learning space, because they learned whatever they learned in the COVID time at home.
yeah. As an educator, how can we be a part of this literacy education in our area?
Well, I think, I would say that if people are really wanting to kind of um, being part of this larger movement, this mission, it's important to kind of see that what are the skills that you could, as educators, you could really um, work on a structured pedagogy. You could really see that how foundational years are so important and how instruction package is so important for children to learn. um, our new education policy gives us a very very good framework, but as educators, if we are not changing the classroom practices, um, we will not be able to see the difference that we are wanting to see in children. So as educators, I want to request each and every person, if you're watching this around, that please change the classroom practice. Till the time we continue to change the system, we continue to strengthen the policies, but if the classroom practices are not changing, we will not be able to see the impact.
Yeah. There's another question which says that क्या रूम टू रीड प्रोग्राम के आधार पर पढ़ने के तरीके सीखने के लिए ऑनलाइन प्रशिक्षण का आयोजन किया जाएगा?
um, रूम टू रीड अभी उस स्टेज में नहीं है जहाँ पे हम कुछ एजुकेटर्स के लिए कोई एक ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म डिवाइस कर रहे हैं। हाउएवर हम जिस तरीके से काम करते हैं, हम प्रशासन के साथ मिल के काम करते हैं। तो जितने भी टीचर्स हैं या एजुकेटर्स हैं जो सिस्टम से जुड़े हुए हैं, उनकी ऑनलाइन ट्रेनिंग लगातार कराई जाती है। हाउएवर एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हमें कभी भी ऐसा नहीं लगा है कि जो कंटेंट हमारे पास है वो सिर्फ रूम टू रीड का है। हमें लगता है हम एक लार्जर गुड के लिए उसको डेवलप किया है। तो सोना जी, इफ यू आर इंटरेस्टेड, प्लीज फील फ्री टू रीच आउट टू अस। वी विल बी हैप्पी टू शेयर एनी कंटेंट दैट कैन बी यूज्ड बाय यू। We always continue to do that and we'll be happy to do it for you also.
What is needed to support education for the first generation learners beyond the classroom? Are there any success stories emerging at Room to Read?
So I would say that I think I'll go back to my previous mention of home as a learning space. And we have heard it so many times. I think all of us who are here, एक बच्चा स्कूल पहुंचने से पहले बहुत कुछ सीख चुका होता है और वो घर से ही सीख के
Exactly.
जाता है। तो it's very important for us to recognize that classroom is just that 5 6 hours of the day. A child is learning in their whole environment, in that ecosystem, whether it is community. So it's very very important for us as or for organization that are working in this space, for us to realize that classroom is crucial because there is a structured pedagogy, there is a structured instruction that's been given to the child. However, it's important that we create that ecosystem for the child, whether it is the home environment, whether it is the community, whether it is the public spaces. So I would say that for a first generation learner, it's important that they are exposed to variety of literature, children literature. It's extremely important. And yes, we have dearth of success stories that are emerging out of the beneficiaries that we have in room to read, wherein we have had those first generation learners who could who could read and write, and those beautiful stories of how they became the person that they would take a book from the room to read library, go back home and probably read it out to their siblings or to the children in the community. And so these are very heart touching stories, I would say. But just to respond on the question, I would say that for a first generation learner, we need to give that ecosystem to the child to be able to develop those foundational literacy skills.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was such a pleasure to hear your views, and it has been absolutely enlightening and an honor to have you with us. Thank you, everybody. And now it is Anupma signing off.
Thank you.